Hey, hi, hello, welcome back to my channel. I'm Jesse, and today I'm going to be wrapping up my 2024 book bingo and sharing with you my 2025 book bingo. If you didn't know, each year I come out with a bingo sheet for myself to accomplish throughout the year. It's kind of just a thing that I do on the side. I don't put too much pressure on it. I will put prompts of things that I think I will accomplish with my reading each year, and then at the end of the year I come back and share with you how many bingos I was able to complete. Last year I killed it. Last year I think I was able to accomplish like 3 or 4 bingos on the sheet. This year, not so much. I think I only got 2, but I'm gonna go through everything that I was able to accomplish and the things that I was not able to accomplish. So let's start off with that. First up, we have read 80 books. I was able to surpass this. I read 114 books last year. I'm pretty proud of that. The next one is to film and post 12 book review videos. This one just ended up being way too pressuring. I had a plan to kind of like reboot my second channel, youtube.com/morereader, and then it just didn't end up happening because of the fact that it just became a lot more stressful than I realized. Because last year I feel like I was just trying to bring this channel back to life, and I feel like I accomplished that. I feel like I figured out what I want to do with this specific channel, but having that as like a side project just like was not working. The two were not meshing well. It became a lot more stressful than I had imagined, so I just ended up focusing all my energy and time into this channel. With that being said, I did film 3 book review videos. I just did not edit them and I did not post them, so fail. I failed this specific prompt. Next was to read a choose your own adventure style book. Did not happen. Still would like to read a choose your own adventure style book, but did not happen in 2024. Next was to go to a bookstore that I've never been to before. I was able to accomplish this. I went to 2 new to me bookstores in Nashville. I went to McKay's and Parnassus Books. McKay's was overwhelming and Parnassus was very cozy. Loved the vibes. Highly recommend that bookstore. I think McKay's is really great too, but I just went on a very busy day. It was like right after the 4th of July and chaos ensued. There were just a lot of people, a lot of bodies, a lot of like claustrophobia was happening. I was just like, I want to get out of here, and I got out of there. Next was to DIY a bookmark based on the book you're reading. Did not accomplish this one. I love a crafty moment, but I didn't get up to much crafting last year, unfortunately. Next, we've got reorganize your bookshelf. Yeah, no, did not happen. I did get rid of a lot of books, and in getting rid of a lot of books, I had to kind of do some sorting. So you could say that I accomplished this, but I'm not marking it down that I accomplished it because I did not like intentionally reorganize my bookshelf, and that's what I really needed to do last year. Next was to read a book recommended in a comment. I for sure accomplished this one because I did a lot of videos last year, a lot of reading vlogs where y'all controlled what I read, and so I had to obviously pick out the books from the comment section, so nailed it, crushed it. Next, drop a book. I did accomplish this one. This is one that I accomplish every year, unfortunately. I'm just a clumsy person. Dropping books just comes naturally for me, unfortunately. No books were harmed last year. No books had to be replaced last year, so that's a win, but I unfortunately did drop a book on several occasions. Next was to read a book recommended by a librarian. This one I surprisingly did not accomplish. I thought I would for sure accomplish this one because of the fact that I frequented the library so much last year, but I didn't end up picking up a book recommended by a librarian and reading it, so I cannot mark this one off. Next was to read a book that has a book cover that you hate. I don't think that I accomplished this one. I feel like I read a lot of pretty books last year. Like a lot of the books that I read last year had a lot of pretty covers. And now I want to open up my Goodreads and like look at my challenge and see if there's any book covers that I hate, because I just like didn't think about this one. I mean, I really don't like the Satan Loves You cover. I also really don't like the Silent Patient cover. Like that cover just makes me feel uncomfortable. So I'm actually going to count this one, okay? So I did in fact read a book that has a book cover that I hate because I really don't like the Silent Patient cover. I did end up liking that book, but like the cover, makes me uncomfy. Next was to read a book published the year you were born. I really don't think that I was able to accomplish this one. I feel like I read books that came out in like the last 5 to 7 years, so did not accomplish that. Next is to read a book with an animal main character. Did not accomplish this one, but I have several books that have animals as the main character, and I would really like to accomplish this one next year. So maybe I should just like move it over into my 2025 book bingo. Next, we've got our free space. Then we've got return a book to the library that you didn't end up reading. I did this on several occasions. There were so many times where I checked out books from the library and just did not end up getting around to them, and that's okay. It's one of my favorite things about using the library, truth be told, is that I don't feel guilty when I check out a book and I don't end up reading it. The only time I feel guilty when it comes to the library is when I check out a book and I know that there is like a wait list or people waiting to read that book and I don't end up reading the book. That's when I feel a little bit guilty, but for the most part, I never feel guilt when it comes to the library. Next is to read a book while drinking boba. Did this for sure, specifically when I was in New York. I was drinking boba like crazy and reading books like crazy, so I did in fact accomplish this one. Though I will say, I did not drink as much boba as I would have liked in 2024. So I need to get back on my boba grind in 2025. It's happening. Next is to complete a Book Nook model. This is one that I think I'm going to move over to 2025 as well because of the fact that like I have so many models. I probably have 7 Book Nook models that I have not completed yet, and it needs to happen. I need to get at least one, just one singular book model done. Next is to donate books to a free little library. I did this several times last year actually. The first time I actually wrapped up the books and did like a blind date with the book situation and put them in free little libraries around my town. The other time I did it was for a vlog that I ended up scrapping that I was filming in December, and I like wrapped up the books and put little tags on them being like, this is from Santa's little helper. So I did in fact donate quite a few books last year, not only to free little libraries, but to a local bookstore and also to several thrift stores last year. Next, I have read more nonfiction books because in 2023, I was like fully in my nonfiction era. I was really enjoying nonfiction books, but unfortunately that did not cross over into 2024. I read 2 nonfiction books last year. One was a memoir that I really enjoyed, Crying in H Mart, and then I read another nonfiction book called The Art Thief, which was fantastic as well, but those were the only 2 that I read, and I feel like only reading 2 does not work in accomplishing this goal. Next is to read a book you started in 2023 and didn't finish. I was able to accomplish this by reading The Gallagher Department Store, which is a book that I ended up really enjoying and ended up on my best books of 2024 video. Next is to read a book that has less than 500 ratings on Goodreads. I did start this one, but then I got bored with the book that I was reading. The book in question is As I Was on My Way to Strawberry Fair. It just ended up being really confusing and I just like could not get into it. I could not like break past the confusing writing style and the confusing things that were happening in the book. Truth be told, I really wanted to continue on my series of the quest for underrated books, and I do want to continue that journey this year, but I just need to find better books apparently. But I thought that that one was going to be one that I really enjoyed because I had seen some reviews that were really convincing and had me thinking that it could be a new 5-star read for me. Then I got into it and was disappointed almost immediately. Next was to read a book that I checked out from the library. I was able to accomplish this several times over 2024. I became a library rat last year and I plan to be a library rat in 2025 as well. Next is to complete a bookish puzzle. I was able to accomplish this by putting together The World of Frankenstein puzzle, which was so much fun to put together. I highly recommend this puzzle. I felt like it was just really detailed and was not too challenging, so it just overall was a really well-balanced puzzle. Not me reviewing a puzzle over here. I am a puzzle reviewer now, guys. Next we have Unhaul More. I was definitely able to accomplish this. I probably unhauled around 200 to 300 books last year. Like I went crazy. I was just trying to get rid of a lot of books that I knew I was never going to read, books that I hated that I had kept, and I just was trying to get my collection in a place where I felt like it represented me, and I still feel like I am not there yet. I still feel like I am working on myself and working on opening up myself to getting rid of more books because it can be challenging. I am somebody that holds like sentimental value with books, and I hold nostalgic value with them as well. Like if something reminds me of a specific time in my life, I have such a hard time of ripping that nostalgia off of that item and getting rid of it. Next we have read a book from an indie author. I did accomplish this one by reading some weird romance books. That's all I will say about that. The last slot I had you guys choose, and I went with one of the most upvoted comments, and it was this comment right here. It was to read an entire series, and I was able to accomplish this. I finished the Sleeping Giants trilogy last year. I started it and finished it. I reread the first book and then completed the last 2 books. Unfortunately, overall, I felt a little bit let down by the end of that trilogy, but I did enjoy the journey. Like there were moments that I really liked about it. I felt like books 1 and 2 were pretty solid, and then the final book was kind of a bit of a letdown. So overall, not too bad, but not my favorite. With that being said, book bingo for 2024 has officially come to a close. I was able to get 2 bingos, which is not too bad. But again, my 2023 book bingo, I slayed so hard, so this just feels a little underwhelming to me. But I'm gonna do better next year, okay? I'm not gonna put pressure on myself, but I'm definitely gonna do better. So let's talk about my 2025 book bingo. I'm gonna be honest with y'all, you guys mostly curated this list. I went through the comments on one of my recent videos where I asked you guys to submit book bingo ideas, and y'all came through, y'all delivered, because I just felt like this year I felt a little bit burnt out in the brain when it came to fun ideas to have on my book bingo. So thank you all for submitting your ideas. I took them all into account and put a lot of them in this book bingo. First up is to read 90 books. This is obviously my reading goal for the year. I want to try and read 90 books, maybe more. I kind of am pushing for more, so hopefully I can do that. Though Goodreads lately has been like, you're behind, and I'm like, can a boy get a break? Can a boy breathe for a second? 2025 has just started and you're already trying to stress me out. So stop. Stop it. Next, we've got read a book you've owned the longest. This is the one that I'm gonna have a hard time figuring out which book I've owned the longest, but I'm gonna do some digging, I'm gonna do some research, maybe go to a book haul from when I started my channel and see if I own any of those books and if I've not read them yet, but I'm gonna have to do some research to figure out which book I've owned the longest. Next one is a repeat from last year, and that is to read a book with 500 ratings or less on Goodreads. Again, I really wanna continue on my series of trying to find an underrated book, and I would love to accomplish this next year for sure. Next is to read a book with your favorite color on it. I feel like my favorite color changes often. It goes from green to blues though, mostly. Like I stay in that range. I think currently I am a mint green lover. Like I love a mint green. It's just pleasing to the eyeballs. Next, we have another one that I am carrying over from 2024, and that is to complete a book model. I have so many book models. Let me just show you all the book models that I have. I have far too many. I have 2, 4, 6. 6 book models. To be fair, I only bought one for myself. The other ones were all gifted to me. I feel like I am the kind of person where people are like, oh, he's a reader, gotta get him bookish gifts, which yes, give me all the bookish gifts, I will take them, but it just ends up where I am overloaded with things like this, book models. Who knows where I will even place all of these book models. I gotta unhaul more books to showcase my book models on my bookshelf. Next is to read a book slowly, a chapter a day until complete. This one I do think will actually be challenging for me because I'm just the type of person where if I'm going to read, I'm going to read a lot. Like I'm not just going to read a single chapter and then carry on with my day. Like that's just not how I work. That's not how I operate. When I get into a reading mood, I want to read a giant chunk of a book. And so I'm going to struggle with this one, but I'm going to do my best. I'm going to try to accomplish it. Maybe it'll be a nice change of pace. It'll be a nice way to kind of like slow down and just appreciate what I'm reading. Not that I don't appreciate what I'm reading when I read fast or read a lot, but I do feel like it could be nice to just like change it up a little bit. Hold space for what I'm reading, you know? Number 7 is another repeat from last year, and that is to reorganize your bookshelf. It's gotta happen this year. It's gotta happen. It's been this way for far too long. We need to change it up, spice it up a little bit. Next is to keep my Goodreads updated. If you're familiar with me and this channel, you'll know that I have always struggled with keeping my Goodreads updated, but I wanted to challenge myself, so I threw this on there this year to see if I can last longer than 3 to 4 months, because that tends to be the trend with me. I will update my Goodreads for 3 to 4 months, and then I will drop out, and then at the end of the year, I have to come through and just add every single book that I've read throughout the year, and it's annoying. Next is to read a book with your least favorite color on it. See, I don't know what my least favorite color is. Maybe like a neon version of a color, like a neon orange can be a bit much on the eyeballs. Next is to read 5 novellas. I found that I am a novella lover when it's done right. There have been a few novellas that have burned me in the past, but I love a short and sweet story, so I would like to read more this year. Next is to read a light novel, which is a type of Japanese fiction. I read one light novel back in 2023, I believe, maybe 2022. I can't remember, but I really enjoyed it. I really, really loved it and have never read another one since. So if you guys have any Japanese light novel recommendations for me, drop them down below in the comments. Next is to read a book that feels good in your hands. If you know, you know. There are those times when you will just like pick up a random book and it just feels right. It just feels so good in your hands. You can't explain it. It's not something that you can explain to other people. If you try to explain it to another person, they might just like look at you strangely, but like it is a thing. Trust, if you haven't experienced it, it doesn't mean you will never experience it in your lifetime. There's a chance you will pick up a book and it will just feel different than any other book ever. So if you haven't experienced it, give it time. Next, we've got a free space. What do you know? I've already accomplished this. Next is to listen to an audiobook while you color. I have found myself on Coloring Talk on TikTok, and I am obsessed. I do not have the skills that they have. They have graduated basic coloring school and have become full-on artists with what they're doing in their coloring books. Like, it's insane. I don't know if anybody else is on the coloring side of TikTok, but it is crazy and I'm obsessed. I eat up that content and it makes me want to color, but I also recognize the fact that I will never be on their levels. But I'm just going to color the way that I color and enjoy the process. Next is to read a book by an author that shares your name. So I need to find an author named Jesse. I feel like there's quite a few Jessies out there, so this one should not be hard to accomplish. Next is to read a book from a library display table. I did this several times last year because my library's display tables were just incredible last year. Like every time I walked in, I was so excited to go and look at some of the display tables they had. So definitely will be accomplishing this one next year. Next is to read a book with food in the title while actually eating the food. This is one that I'm going to ask y'all to recommend books that have food in the title because I don't know a lot of books that have food in the title. I probably could easily research this. Like I probably could find a few with a quick Google search, but if y'all have any recommendations for me for books that have food in the title that were actually really good books, definitely drop a recommendation for me down below in the comments. Next is to read a memoir. Memoirs are something that I don't prioritize that often, and I would like to start prioritizing them. I feel like there's so many interesting memoirs out there that I've been wanting to read, but definitely would like to get around to this one. Next is to read a subscriber book recommendation. As I mentioned, I read a lot of y'all's recommendations last year when it came to like the reading vlogs that I did where you guys controlled my reading vlogs. Be sure to keep your eyes on my community tab here on YouTube because that's often where I will go asking for you guys to recommend books for me. Next is to read a book with multiple POVs. I feel like this one should be rather easy to accomplish. I feel like I often read books that have multiple POVs. Watch this be the year where I don't read a single book that has multiple POVs in it. Next is to put all the book covers back on my books. I've been talking about this for a while that I'm going to be doing this, but I have yet to do it. But I feel like it's coming. I feel like it's going to happen in 2025, potentially here at the beginning of 2025. I may or may not have a plan in my mind as to when this is going to happen, so you'll see the covers back on these books soon. I promise, soon. I know I've been saying that for a long time now, but it's really happening. It's really gonna happen. Next is to read 5 sci-fi books. This one might be a little bit challenging for me because I don't necessarily gravitate towards sci-fi books, and also it just really depends on my experience with sci-fi books when I start reading them again. Like if the first sci-fi book that I read this year is a bad experience, I feel like it's gonna be harder for me to want to read more in that genre. So this might be a bit of a struggle, but I'm gonna try to pursue it as best I can. Next is to read a V.E. Schwab book. I know for a fact that I will accomplish this one, so this almost feels like a free space. I'm doing a readathon with my channel members where we are reading V.E. Schwab books, so I will definitely be accomplishing this one. Next is to read a book with a character that you share a name with. This one I'm going to need recommendations for. I also could just do a Google search, but I don't know of any characters that have the name Jesse, so if you have any recommendations for me, drop them down below in the comments. I'll also do a little bit of a Google search, but would love it if you guys have some recommendations for me. And finally, we have another You Choose. Even though y'all basically put together this book bingo, if you guys have a prompt for me, a prompt that you want to see me try and accomplish next year, drop it down below in the comments and I will try to do the one that has the most upvotes. So go do some upvoting down below in the comments. Give me a prompt of something that you would like to see me accomplish in 2025. That is it for my book bingo wrap up for 2024 and what's to come for my book bingo in 2025. I definitely encourage y'all to make your own book bingo for 2025. It's really fun to have prompts of things to accomplish throughout the year. I really enjoy looking at this and it's fun to look back and see all the things that I did accomplish and the things that I avoided. If you like this video, be sure to go and hit that like button. If you want to see more bookish content from me, be sure to go and hit subscribe or go and hit that bell icon and you'll be notified every time I post new videos. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope your day is bright, that tomorrow is brighter. Keep reading what your heart desires and I will see you soon with a new video. Bye, yo!